But first, he's been called one of Gen Z's most buzzed about artists. Singer-songwriter David broke through in 2022 with hit song Romantic Homicide, going viral on TikTok and peaking at #4 on Billboard's Hot Rock and Alternative Songs chart. But David's tour is now canceled, and he is at the center of a possible homicide investigation. This because on September 8th, the decomposing body of a teenager, Celeste Rivas, was found in an abandoned Tesla registered to David. Tonight, we have the latest in the investigation. Good evening and welcome to Closing Arguments. I'm Julia Janae, filling in for Vinnie Politan tonight. Thank you for being with us as we follow this story that has so many unusual circumstances that all seem to point to a famed singer. On September 8th, police responded to a report of a foul odor coming from a Tesla that was impounded at Hollywood Tow Service in Los Angeles. In the trunk, investigators found the unthinkable: human remains. Investigators also learned that that car was registered to singer-songwriter David, whose real name is David Anthony Burke. And these remains were dismembered, and they were later identified as a teenager named Celeste Rivas. She would have been 15 years old on the day that she was discovered. She had been reported missing from Lake Elsinore, California. That was in April of last year. The medical examiner's report stated that Celeste's body was decomposed. She was wearing a tube top, black leggings, a yellow bracelet, and stud earrings. And most interestingly, Celeste had a tattoo on her right index finger that simply read, "Shh." And singer-songwriter David also has the same tattoo on his finger. No one has been named as a suspect in this investigation, but it is considered a homicide. So we want to dig into this case and where this investigation seems to be leading. Let's bring in our guest for this hour, host of the Outlier podcast and pop crime TV reporter Lauren Conlon is with us. Lauren, thanks so much for joining us and talking about this case where we just seem to get more and more details that are centering around this famous person. Now, there may be a lot of our viewers who say they don't know anything about David. He's got this unusual spelling of his name where the #4 is in it. Let's set the scene first and start with who is David. How much success does he have, and what's his background like?
Yes, he actually grew to fame on TikTok. So he had this huge following of young people. He blew up, and now he is doing a world tour. And this guy, I was shocked to see it. He has about 2 million followers on Instagram alone. And his rise to fame was pretty rapid. Now, he has connected with people like Benny Blanco. If you look at his social media, the house that was actually just searched, which doesn't belong to him, reportedly it belongs to his manager. He had photos of Benny Blanco in this house. He was entertaining people in this house. So again, he seems to have rose to fame very quickly with a very large following. He's very active with his social media users. He's active on Discord. He does a lot of streams, and Celeste was actually seen in 2 of these streams. And recently, the Discord moderator came out and said, you know, we had no idea that this girl Celeste was missing, and we really had no idea that she was 13 or 14 at the time. We thought she was hanging out with David and she was 18 or 19. So they had no idea. And these moderators are really distancing themselves from David and from this whole thing.
And that's big, those ages in particular that you're talking about, because her 15th birthday would have been around the time that she was discovered, but when she was reported missing, she was only 13 years old. And it sounds like you're saying other people knew where she was, didn't know that her family was looking for her. How old is David? And also, in terms of Celeste, did she have any kind of fame? I know people have been characterizing her as a singer.
She did not have any type of fame that I'm aware of, and I've dug pretty deep here, but she actually would have turned 15 on September 7th, which is the day before her body was I guess, discovered in this Tesla, which is incredibly heartbreaking here. And actually one of her teachers just kind of went viral because he came out and said, oh my gosh, I taught Celeste, and I know for a fact that she met David on social media. And she was hanging out with him and he picked her up, and this was about April of 2024. She took off with him. Her parents or her mother called the police. The police brought her home, but then she disappeared again in May of 2024. And David, by the way, is 20 years old right now. So he would have been 18 years old when he was hanging out with her. And something that is incredibly chilling as well is, you know, the missing flyer stated that Celeste was wearing these Hello Kitty pants the last time she was seen. Well, there's a resurfaced photo of David also wearing Hello Kitty pants, looking visibly distressed in the shower. Now, I have seen just so many red flags. As you said, police have not named a suspect, but at this point, it's not looking great for David. He's canceled, a big leg of his tour. I would imagine that LAPD has said, you know what, we kind of want you to stay put right now. And I mean, if you look into his songs, right, Romantic Homicide, I mean, some of these lyrics are very disturbing. Just pulling up some lyrics to that song, he said, quote, "In the back of my mind, I killed you and I didn't even regret it." He has music videos that seem to glorify romance and death. And it gives me chills. It really gives me chills.
I'm glad you mentioned the song, because that's one of his top songs, this Romantic Homicide. She's not named at all in that song, but Lauren, we understand there was a song that had a name that matched our victim here.
Yes, and this is also interesting because the song is not super easy to find. Internet sleuths kind of dug this up. In 2023, he did reportedly record a song, which was called Celeste, and he kind of talks about, you know, this girl that he's in love with, and I think he mentioned something about a tattoo on her chest. So that right there, you know, that says a lot, as well as some of these streams that are coming out with the two of them again on Discord. And they're talking about really just inappropriate things here. I think that something that was brought up on one of the streams, they were referring to Epstein and just, you know, the assaulting of children. And then they quickly say, oh, delete this. And, you know, a lot of these videos, not all of them, but when you see Celeste, you know, she's got a hood on a lot of the time, or these big glasses. And I just have to think that, you know, she didn't want to get caught. She knew that maybe her parents wouldn't approve, you know, someone in her life wouldn't approve. So she seems to be, you know, hiding her face just a bit.
Yeah, you mentioned that you've had to dig up some things when it comes to this case and understanding more about the people involved. We were able to obtain an interview that David did. It's undated, it's from the past, but we want to just take a look at that because that's going to help people understand who maybe don't or haven't ever seen him before or followed him on TikTok or heard his music. Here's a listen.
I rock with New York heavy. I love that place so much. And I was in New York 7 years of my life. I moved to Texas when I was like 8 years old. And then after that, I was homeschooled. So I didn't really I wasn't shaped by my environment whatsoever. It was mostly just, I was such an internet kid. The internet is really what I claim as my home. Like, if you ask me where I'm from, I say the internet. Because I was just online every day, doing my schoolwork, making songs, making a video, being a YouTuber, content creator, posting TikToks, posting on Instagram. Like, that's really my neighborhood was Instagram and the society was the internet. You know what I'm saying? So I'm very appreciative and grateful for the art that comes out of Houston and the art that comes out of New York, but it hasn't shaped my artistry at all.
Lauren Conlon, thank you so much for all of your insight on this. I know we'll be checking in with you as this case develops. We want to bring in our think tank now, who we have standing by to talk about all these details. What do they mean in this investigation? We have with us criminal defense attorney Josh Colesrud. We also have former law enforcement officer and host of the Strong Enough podcast, Claudia King, and private investigator Lauren Vellucci is with us. Great to see you all. Josh, let me start with you. Your thoughts about where we are in the investigation in this case and all of these unusual coincidences that seem to be stacking up against the singer.
Well, we're certainly at the beginning, and in any violent criminal case, there's no such thing as coincidence. Now, every coincidence is circumstantial evidence. They're a data point that points at motive. And here, one of the main pieces of evidence, obviously, is the body, but also the Tesla. The Tesla is like a supercomputer, and it's going to be able to tell investigators so much about the timeline. And the timeline in this case is particularly important because of when the body was found and also where David may have been at the time that it was found. So that's going to be really important. Also, I'm really looking forward to hearing from the toxicology analyst to see, was this an overdose or was there some type of poison or foul play involved? Also, we haven't heard much about the cause of death other than it's pending. One of the things I also noticed was that, David's representative said that he is cooperating, but what we didn't hear was he didn't do it. We didn't hear that he had nothing to do with this. We didn't hear that he didn't know her, which is kind of what you'd expect to hear from somebody who had nothing to do with a violent crime. So I think that, David is doing what he should be doing, which is lawyering up and canceling his tour and taking this seriously. But I think there's smoke here, and we're going to find out really soon if there's fire.
Yeah, cause of death still pending. That's an important point to bring out, Josh, because we don't know many of the details. But, Claudia, I want to ask you about this. We have from ABC 7 Eyewitness News. They've reported these details about this search of the home where he's connected to. A Hollywood Hills home where he had been living was searched overnight. Law enforcement sources told ABC News on Thursday as authorities investigate the death of a teenage girl whose body was found in the trunk of a Tesla registered to the 20-year-old singer. A search warrant was executed at this home. The singer doesn't own it, but had been staying at it, sources said. Now, Los Angeles Police Department detectives, they were seen taking a computer and several other items out of the home. Los Angeles police confirmed Thursday that the search warrant was in connection to the death of the teenager Celeste. Claudia, what do you think about where we are in this case?
Yeah, I totally agree with what Josh said. There's definitely smoke here, and I think there's a lot that has to be done by law enforcement. When you look at both the vehicle, which is registered to him, but also the house, he can very easily say, well, there's a bunch of people under the umbrella of my organization, and so, so-and-so was driving it, or so-and-so had this, or this other person was at the house. So I think there is a lot to go through, and they're going to have to likely eliminate a lot of people if it really is David and they want to get the case to go to the jury and get a guilty verdict. There is a lot of work to be done.
Lauren, when you're hearing the details of someone reported missing a while ago and the body being found decomposed and dismembered, what sort of things do you think these law enforcement detectives are looking for inside of that home, especially if a long time has passed?
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to be taking apart drains to see if she was possibly dismembered in the bathtub. They're going to be looking for bones, tissue samples, and they are specifically looking for blood evidence, I've been told in this case, in the home to place her there. This is a crazy case. It makes no sense to me. To me, in my opinion, it screams some kind of a mental break, because when you dismember someone, you're doing it for a reason, to go ahead and discard them somewhere, but then you're gonna just not do that and abandon your car a few blocks away from your home. It's just very strange, but I have no doubt that, where there's smoke, there's fire, like the rest of the panel said. So it's not looking good for David here.
Josh, final question about the age gap here and the age of the victim. Even if the charges don't come out with homicide, do you think there could be potentially other charges that could be connected to this case?
Yes, so they're going to be looking at through the victim's phone, assuming they find it, but also David's phone. And if there's any evidence whatsoever that he was having any type of sexual contact with her, I have no doubt that there will be some type of sex abuse charges that are brought alongside the homicide if it's proven that he had anything to do with it.
All right, Think Tank, thank you so much. We will continue to follow this story and bring any updates that happen. Again, remember that tour dates for the singer have been canceled. He had one that was scheduled for this week.